Get ready to meet our entitled parents who let their spoiled kids do whatever they want, no matter the laws or others. I am a 21-year-old nanny and I take care of a little girl, let's call her Sarah, at least once a week. Her parents hire me whenever they need a helping hand. Sarah is 8 years old now and I have taken care of her since she was 4 months old. Yes, I was 14 at the time. The family is great and Sarah is a very quiet child. We are like sisters. I never raised my rate, so I've been making £150, about $70 an hour for almost 8 years now. And I even get a £20 gift certificate for my birthday and Christmas. After all, I have a job that is paying for my living. When Sarah is with me all Saturday, we go on fun outings. She loves to go shopping and see the tourist attractions, so I take her to bigger cities. That's where the story begins. We're on the bus, an hour's drive from the next bigger city. I prefer to go by bus than by car or train, because I don't like to drive and the train is more expensive, although both take 30 to 40 minutes. And I like this particular bus company because they have some perks. I paid £10 for a return ticket, and Sarah, being under 10, paid nothing. And they wait for you on the way back, but if you're late, you have to pay a fine. Anyway, we're on the bus, as usual. I brought my old Nintendo DSi for her to play with so I can do other things while she has fun. It's a perfect situation. Until an entitled mother and her 10-year-old son show up. They sit right behind us. No problem, right? Wrong. It doesn't take long for the boy to realize the console and racing game that Sarah was kind of addicted to. There begins the drama. Son, Mom, I want to play. Mom, it's okay, you can play. I thought he was going to get our attention and ask politely. But not. The boy jumps out of his seat, reaches over Sarah's waist and tries to wrest the game from her. He even manages to pick it up for a moment, but the hand strap prevents him from taking it away. I make sure Sarah's wrist is fine and the game hasn't been damaged by the sudden movement. So I turn away, stopping the boy from another attempt. Me, hey, that wasn't cool. Mom, he just wants to play, let him play. Me, teach your child to ask properly and I'll consider it. Mother, don't tell me how to be a mother. Son, Mother, I want this game. Mother, already, dear. Me, no, it's not his and I'm asking you to leave us alone. The boy starts kicking her chair. She asks him to stop. He continues. Me, I tell Mom I'll tell the drivers. Mother, there are always two on the bus. Me, if he's bored, give him something to do. Mom, give him the game and he'll stop. I immediately get up and move to another seat with Sarah. Then I go to the front and explain the situation to the drivers. When I hear Sarah screaming, "Sarah, let me go!" I turn and see that the boy has one hand on the game and the other pulling on her hair. The entitled mother is smiling in satisfaction. When the boy snatches the game away from Sarah and returns to his seat, holding the console, I immediately run to it and take it back without saying a word. He starts crying and screaming loudly. I don't mind. It's 8 a.m. This should be a happy day for girls. Now I had Sarah in tears and a naughty son with his mother in my hands. Mother, give it back now. My son was playing with this. Driver 2 comes to our rescue and practically pushes the woman and her child into the last row. We were asked to sit at the front, to be as far away as possible. To decide, I didn't listen to anything else, but I heard a piece of my son's speech. He just wanted to experience the game. These girls were very rude to him. I demand an apology. I hide my hand and give her the middle finger. None of the authorized crowd could see. Sarah giggles. Oops, my bad. Sarah saw it, but she was already smiling and starting the game over. After a successful shopping spree, we were boarding the last bus back at 7 p.m. There were 10 minutes left for the match. I chose cheesy seats, as usual, near the front. There were already 2 couples waiting and a third arriving with us. Everyone seemed fine until the driver, who was the same as before, announced that we couldn't leave. 2 people were short, but they were going to call them to hurry to the bus or lose their seats. It would only take a few more minutes. Or not. We had to wait for them as per company policy. At 7:35 p.m., my nightmare comes true. The mother and son arrive at the bus leisurely, ice cream cones in hand. No messy food on the bus. They have to finish outside. Again, no rush. At 7:45 p.m., after the staff count, we finally left. All aboard are irritated by the delay. The mother and son probably took the seats across the aisle, but right behind us. On purpose. But I wasn't going to say anything yet. Lesson learned. I expected the driver of bus 2 to be driving now. Driver 1 comes to the mother, "Sorry to bother you, but you caused a 45-minute delay and, according to our terms and conditions, the company will fine you for this." Fine me? How absurd. For a few minutes? No way. I was told there would be a ride waiting for us, and that's it. I'm sorry, but you knew that beforehand. It's in our terms and conditions. Nobody told you? You agree with that, ma'am? The company will send everything by mail. I need your ID, please. I don't have. And if you have to involve the police, you can. He returns to his seat. The boy appears beside me. I want that game, he says. I already told you no this morning, I reply. Still no. He makes a sad face, but goes back to his mother. It's kind of dark outside. Sarah is lying sprawled across her seat and my lap. Not that I minded. She was tired and I hoped she would fall asleep while she played. And she fell asleep. Her face buried in my jacket, which she had folded like a pillow in my lap. I turned the game off, but with the sling around Sarah's wrist I can't put it in my pocket. Mom suddenly leans over me. She just played. So my son can play now. No, he cannot. It's my game. Come on, just give it to him. He wants to when you're too old for that. I don't mind. It's my game. I said no. So please leave me alone now. What gives you that right? She is practically screaming. I'm worried that she might wake Sarah and that I might end up with a cranky, tired toddler. Do me a favor and don't wake her up. She is sleeping. She doesn't need the game right now, ma'am. The game is tied to her wrist. I would have to wake her up to get it. And anyway, I would be playing. So it's not her son. It's my game. And if I have to tell you again, I'll ask the drivers to help me. No, I will do it. Driver 1 turns to us, fidgeting with her. He looks. I figured he was listening to everything. With right. Mother and son moved a few rows behind us. I thought she had given up again, but I was wrong. A few minutes later, I was distracted by my cell phone, texting with a friend. I wasn't paying attention to anything but holding on so I wouldn't fall out of the seats when she moved. I haven't given much thought to the little hand on my leg since then. Matthias's left arm was out there, then Sarah screamed with a deafening scream. I almost dropped my phone in fright. There was the boy, right between my legs. He had crawled under our seats from behind to come and probably try to steal the game. It was his hand on my leg and Sarah had woken up with him looking right into her face, just inches away. The driver was careful not to cause an accident because of the scream, but stopped the bus as soon as he could. The two drivers were furious. The boy was crying and the unnatural mother was yelling at Sarah and me for making him cry. Oh, while I couldn't make sense of the situation for a moment, holding the shivering 8-year-old, a man from one of the other couples got up and somehow managed to defuse the situation. Mom, that selfish girl scared my baby. She purposely screamed right in his face. Another driver, ma'am, why was her son under her seats? Mom, I want that girl off the bus now. Lady, please answer the question. Why wasn't your child sitting down? Mom, he's a good kid, he can do whatever he wants. Boy, in tears, I want the game Mom is entitled to. Mother, to me you owe my son that game now, idiot. I ignored the insult. I had to call Sarah to try not to explode and to control myself. I was so mad I wanted to punch something. The boy tried to pick up the game again. I was fed up with him. I admit, I didn't want to push him as hard as I did, and I know I shouldn't have pushed him back, but since he only landed against his mother, I didn't mind one bit. I got up with a red face, taking a deep breath so I wouldn't lose my mind. Me, listen here, kid. Don't you dare touch us or our game again. Mother, you hurt my baby. You better be glad he's underage, ma'am, otherwise he'd be facing charges right now. Me, several attempts to steal my game to begin with, and the way he crawled out from under us, I could probably file a sexual harassment report on that too. The tutelary council would be very interested to know that you even encouraged your son. Yes, I could have done that with him as a minor, but let's be honest, he was probably the victim of this woman's poor parenting, and I wasn't going to ruin his life any more than it already was. Mother, you have no right to talk to me like that. You brat made my baby cry. You owe him that game now. He deserves. He's a good boy. She herself wanted to pass me by now. Behind me, Sarah still had the game. I no longer cared about the game itself. She would probably hurt me if she tried to get the toy now. I'm 5'7" and about 170 pounds. I'm skinny and don't look very strong, but I'm the only girl on a men's rugby team. I face guys bigger and older than her and me. And she's seen me play. Sarah, do your trick. My trick is to get people out of a bad situation. This is my default move. But I couldn't do that now. I had already gone too far pushing the kid. The two drivers and the man held the woman down. She screamed and thrashed, throwing punches and insults all over the place as she demanded that I give that toy to her son. The other two men came to help restrain her. It took a while for her to calm down. And I finally sat down. I thought now we could go home. I had already warned his mother that we would be late because of the unforeseen event, but nothing else since our departure. So I huddled on the seats again, shivering but deep in the game again. And I took out my phone to let her mom know we'd be even later. That's when I heard the overbearing mother whisper into her phone. She was telling the police some story about child abuse, a stolen toy, being threatened and cornered by several men, and being too scared to ask for an early stop somewhere nearby. She was exaggerating and presenting her own distorted version of the story. I asked to be let up and went to talk to the drivers. They looked mortified, to say the least. They contacted the police and their office as well. Now I had to type this to Sarah's mom ASAP. I didn't want her to freak out with the police on arrival, as she was coming to pick us up 45 minutes later. 8 police officers were waiting for us, an ambulance, Sarah's mother, who appeared to have reported to the police along with an elderly man who was there to pick up one of the couples. Sarah was happy again, which I was very grateful for, as I wasn't scared to death that this was going to have some traumatic impact on her. It could have been partly my fault for exploding. She had never been in trouble before, had never seen me mad. Sarah ran to her mother. I followed with her shopping bag. Mother and daughter were questioned separately in the ambulance. The rest of us had to answer questions as well. The drivers supported us with the bus surveillance cameras. The woman was arrested. She and her son were banned from walking with the company. She faced charges for a handful of things, encouraging her son to steal, false accusations, and attacking me among them. At home, Sarah proudly showed off her new fabrics. I have a sewing machine that we use on rainy days and t-shirts. All within the shopping money her mother gave her for the day. I paid for myself in the end. I got off with a warning for pushing the kid, charges that were dropped due to the circumstances. The judge understood that I was protecting myself and my belongings in a tense situation, and that the boy's past actions made it necessary for me to rightly intervene. The mother was fined for all the delay she and her son caused, 1 hour and 18 minutes in total. She was forced to accept family assistance and child protection. Services should also assess the family's situation. Sarah was not harmed in any way. Sarah's mother was very understanding and increased my Christmas gift card. I think it was an apology from her for some things she said. It was because I risked being accused to protect her daughter and teach her to stand up for herself and be strong. This weekend we took another trip. Getting on the bus, I see a boy in line who looks familiar, but the man next to him doesn't. I forget about it and leave. Sarah smiles happily as I pull the DSi game out of my bag. 2 minutes later, the kid, that damn kid, says, "Give me that." I'm sure it's him. How do you ask for things that are not yours, young man? I want this game now. No, sorry. Very rude. Go learn some manners, please. Dad, she won't give it to me. Again, this burly man rises from his seat. Lucky for me, one of the drivers is the same as the other day. He recognizes the boy in me. Driver, young man, I need to see his ID, please. Where is your father? Father? My son just asked to try the game, sir. Yes, that's why he was banned last month. You have to get off this bus or I will have to call the police. I bought tickets for this. I have the right to walk. The police were called immediately. We stop. The father was arrested for resisting the police and fraud. It turned out that he and his son used false names. Also, his son was 11 years old and needed a ticket, but was registered as 10 years old and had no ID. The driver came up to me to apologize and see how we were doing. I told him there was no need to apologize. I wasn't sure about the boy at first. Thank you for resolving the situation quickly. There were a few more kids on the bus this time and Sarah had fun on the last trip with 3 other kids. They shared the game, taking turns. I didn't have any problems during the whole trip and I exchanged contacts with their parents. Let's meet at an amusement park next week. Friends were made. It's easy, honestly. Although even on the second trip, if the boy had asked nicely, I would have left it up to Sarah whether or not she wanted to share. After all, it could have been an opportunity to make a friend and people deserve a second chance if you ask me. But no, they thought he had the right to have my game because he just wanted it. If he was rude, his parents were worse. I don't hold a grudge against them getting kicked off the bus. However, I feel sorry for the boy. It wasn't exactly his fault. He didn't know better. Oh my God. We're going to have to rename this subreddit from Authoritative Parents to Authoritative Family. The whole family is just a bunch of thieves and criminals. Also, even though this nanny has lost her cool, she still has the patience of an angel. I don't know if I could handle all of that. Let me ask you, if you were sitting on a bus and this happened to you, how would you handle this situation? I am very curious to know if you would be more patient or less patient than this nanny. Message received. Hello, this is Bing. I can try to rewrite the text for you with other words, correcting the accent and correct words with emotion, without losing the meaning of the text. Here is the rewritten text. She was required to accept family assistance and child protection. Services should also assess the family's situation. Sarah was not harmed in any way. Sarah's mother was very understanding and increased my Christmas gift card. I think it was an apology from her for some things she said. It was because I risked being accused to protect her daughter and teach her to stand up for herself and be strong. This weekend we took another trip. Getting on the bus, I see a boy in line who looks familiar, but the man next to him doesn't. I forget about it and leave. Sarah smiles happily as I pull the DSI game out of my bag. 2 minutes later, the kid, that damn kid, says, "Give me that." I'm sure it's him. How do you ask for things that aren't yours, young man? I want this game now. No, sorry. Very rude. Go learn some manners, please. Dad, she won't give it to me. Again, this burly man rises from his seat. Lucky for me, one of the drivers is the same as the other day. He recognizes the boy in me. Driver, young man, I need to see your ID, please. Where's your father? Dad? My son just asked to try the game, sir. Yes, that's why it was banned last month. You have to get off this bus or I'm going to have to call the police. I bought tickets for this. I have a right to walk. The police were called immediately. We stop. The father was arrested for resisting the police and fraud. It turned out that he and his son used false names. Also, his son was 11 years old and needed a ticket, but was registered as 10 years old and had no ID. The driver came up to me to apologize and see how we were doing. I told him there was no need to apologize. I wasn't sure about the boy at first. Thank you for resolving the situation quickly. There were a few more kids on the bus this time and Sarah had fun on the last trip with 3 other kids. They shared the game, taking turns. I didn't have any problems during the whole trip and I exchanged contacts with their parents. Let's meet at an amusement park next week. Friends were made. It's easy, honestly. Although even on the second trip, if the boy had asked nicely, I would have left it up to Sarah whether or not she wanted to share. After all, it could have been an opportunity to make a friend and people deserve a second chance if you ask me. But no, they thought he had the right to have my game because he just wanted it. If he was rude, his parents were worse. I don't hold a grudge against them getting kicked off the bus. However, I feel sorry for the boy. It wasn't exactly his fault. He didn't know better. Oh my God. We're going to have to rename this subreddit from authoritative parents to authoritative family. The whole family is just a bunch of thieves and criminals. Also, even though this nanny has lost her cool, she still has the patience of an angel. I don't know if I could handle all of that. Let me ask you, if you were sitting on a bus and this happened to you, how would you handle this situation? I am very curious to know if you would be more patient or less patient than this nanny. Now I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me and my 8-year-old little sister. I have a disability that causes me serious balance problems, muscle weakness, and falls. Although I can still walk, it's not safe for me, so I use a wheelchair. One day, I needed to go to the supermarket and decided to take my sister with me. I don't see her much as I live away from home. So we spent the day at the biggest mall on our side of town and had a great time. After having lunch at the food court, she wanted to play on the playground they have there. So, with her sitting on my lap, I pushed her over there and she went off to enjoy herself. After about 15 minutes, she fell and, as my chair didn't fit in the playground, I grabbed my cane that was stuck on the side and went inside to see if she was okay. That's where the authoritarian parent comes in. After helping her stop crying, I joked that I would have to eat her leg now that she had landed on top of it. When I do that, she laughs a lot. I turned to go back to my chair, but saw that it had been moved. She was about 10 feet from where I left her, right at the entrance where parents leave strollers and stuff. And there was a child sitting in my seat, while her mother swiveled the chair. I went over there and asked for the chair back. That's when the overbearing mother started attacking me. Look, I need my wheelchair back and you shouldn't have taken it without asking. But you can walk. I was so surprised by this. Yes, I could walk, but it was obvious that I was having a hard time standing. I'm sorry, but you can walk. You don't need that chair, you just want it. people started looking at us. I stood my ground and told her that although I could walk, I couldn't do it for very long and needed my chair. "And what's your problem then? This is none of your business. You say you need that chair, but won't you tell me what you got?" She said it like I was the crazy one. She took her son out of my chair reluctantly. So I put away my cane and sat on the chair. My muscles and legs were aching from standing for so long. So I pushed myself back to where my sister and I were, to try to forget what had just happened and get some rest. As I was walking away, she kept complaining about me loudly to the people around her. She said I was lying about needing my chair because I could walk and that I was just a freeloader. I picked my sister up from the playground and left the food court as fast as I could. My sister was also upset by the confrontation. So we went to see a movie to calm us down. I think it was The Secret Life of Pets that we saw. She loved it. I've had people confront me about walking and demand to know what I had before, but I'd never had a complete stranger sit in my chair. Please respect others' wheelchairs as an extension of your body and not something to play with without permission. Thanks for reading. Seriously guys, you shouldn't judge someone by how they look. Many disabilities are invisible to the eye. For example, you wouldn't know this just listening to me, but I have an IQ of 10 and I'm one of the ugliest people on planet Earth. That's why I'm pursuing a YouTube career, because I fit in perfectly with all the other parents and YouTubers. I would love to hear how you would handle the bus situation. That mother and that child were so insistent. Would you have eaten the nanny's sweets or thrown them off the bus? Let me know in the comments. I'm very curious.